Excellent. Welcome again, everyone. Let me just open the chat. I see some new names and faces. Hi, this is the fun part about being able to see, hey, everybody's names, but we can't see your faces, and we'll talk about the pros and cons of that in a few minutes based on the particular sections. But hello, hola to all of you. For those of you that we have not met, since you can see we know some folks already on the line, for those that we've not met, let's start with some introductions. My name is Isabel Porras. I use she, her pronouns. I am the Senior Director of Learning and Development at Out and Equal. I've been with the organization for a few years, so since the 2016 summit. So I am thrilled to be talking to you today about the 2021 Workplace Summit. Really excited to connect with all of you, and I'd love to pass the mic to my colleague, Rebecca York.
Hello, everyone. It is great to see all of these familiar names coming in. My name is Rebecca York. I use she and they pronouns, and I am on the Learning and Development team with Isabel. I'll be the person in the chat with you all today. So feel free to ask other questions there, but Isabel will go through the whole thing.
All right, Rebecca, then as promised, we will jump in. I see that we have folks from all over the world, Brazil, Mexico, Michigan. So hello to everyone joining again. We have about an hour reserved for this call. I'm not going to present for an hour. I'm going to try to keep this to 40 minutes at the most and really leave enough time for questions. And if by some miracle we end early, then you have a few minutes back on your schedule. So let's jump right in. Let me make sure that I can share my screen. So the first thing I want to do is we want to use a system, a polling software called Menti that many of you may be familiar with already. So as you can see on the screen, there's a code as well as a QR code. Whichever one you prefer, you can open your camera and hover over the QR code, or you can open a new browser window on your computer or your phone and go to menti.com, MENTI.com, and type in the code 33694876. You see me sort of looking off in the distance. I'm looking at my second monitor where the presentation is. So 33694876. Once you're in there, you'll see a little option to tap a heart button. I see a couple of you are already, 12, 13. So I'm just going to ask that you tap that button when you are in there so I know you've got the system. This is an option. So we can talk about menti.com in the Q&A section. There's lots of other offerings. We have no a special relationship with Menti. It's just the one that Rebecca and I have liked and used over the last year. But there are a lot of polling software options like this one. Slido is another one that I'm familiar with. And we're going to use it for today to sort of get some interaction that the Zoom platform cannot fully allow for, but I also wanted to use it to give you an example of an interactive type of feature that you could use in your own presentations. Again, does not have to be menti.com. There are a lot of third-party polling software options, but just to kind of give you that additional offering. So I see a number of you have already tapped that heart before we go into the questions. And I see some of you, Luke, you are driving. Don't even chat. Don't worry if you cannot participate in the Menti. If you are listening in audio, you are good to go. And it's not a big deal if you can't participate in the Menti. So another thing that I want to flag for you that I really like about using this software is the Q&A feature. So you see that heart that many of you are tapping, and there's also the icons that I'm clicking on over here now that have sort of two chat boxes. That's our questions. You can submit questions throughout the conference. I see a question in there now. Will our sessions be recorded during the summit? And can we get a copy after? I'm just going to go ahead and mark that as answered because I'm going to answer it right now. Yes, your sessions will be recorded and you absolutely will be able to get a copy of that recording. It's your content. We want to make sure that you can share it with your colleagues who weren't able to attend the conference. So you can't get other people's copies, but you'll certainly get your own. Okay, let's jump right in and I will show you some of the pros and cons of the platform of Zoom, of some of Menti, etc. All right. First question for you on Menti. Have you presented a summit workshop in the past? So curious of the folks who are in the room, will this be your first time at Summit? Have you presented virtually? Have you presented live? What are we working with? So I'll just give folks a second to chat in. Oh my gosh. All right. 54% of you are presenters for the first time, 52. Okay. I would say about half of you are first time presenters. So welcome. We're very, very excited to have you. Those of you, let me do some math really quickly, 38% who presented either virtually or live in the past, welcome back. And for that 12% of you who have participated in Summit in the past but did not present last year, special welcome as well. So we are going to have something for everybody. And I'm going to end with a lot of resources, particularly from our partners at Pathable to really help you set up for success for the session. So very excited to see who is on the line with us here. All right, by way of agenda for our conversation today, first of all, I'm going to talk to you about the summit schedule. I know there's a lot of questions, so I'm going to talk about that quickly. And then I want to move over to the Pathable platform, introduce you to what that platform looks like for about the 60 or so percent of you who have not been on Pathable in the past, who were not able to present at last year's conference. And then we'll do a bit of a deep dive into the different session types we have at Summit. This year, we have pre-recorded sessions. Those are going to be the Summit on Demand sessions. And we also have live sessions, whether those are webinars like this one, or whether those are video meetings. Okay, jumping into the schedule, the first thing I want to share with you. Last year's conference was a 5-day conference. This year, we are sort of taking your feedback and fitting a lot of our work into 3 days. Wednesday, October 6th, Thursday, October 7th, and Friday, October 8th are going to be the 3 days of the Workplace Summit this year. Please note that we have 14 session blocks spread out across those 3 days during North American business hours. So what I mean by that is for those of us who are on the West Coast, some of those morning sessions will be early because they start around 9 a.m. Eastern. And for those of you on the East Coast, some of the afternoon sessions may be after your work hours, since workshops may run until about 7 or 7:30 p.m. depending on the day. So we're accommodating a couple of other sessions outside of North American business hours that are specific to a global audience. And so we want to make sure that our colleagues in China, in India, and in Europe, for example, can join these live discussions, these live roundtables at hours that are convenient to them. But otherwise, given the spectrum of sessions of speakers that we have, we're really trying to accommodate those North American business hours. When we release the schedule, which I'll get to in a second, if you see right away that there is a conflict for your speakers, please let us know. We will do our best to accommodate, but please know that we may not be able to reschedule your session. In that instance, let's talk about, the possibility of maybe pre-recording some of that content so that you can still participate at that time. But back to the hours, we have 14 workshop tracks, as I mentioned. Each track is going to have about 7 to 8 sessions. 7 is going to be the minimum per track. Just letting folks know. As I mentioned with the Q&A, your session will be recorded and it will be available I want to say maybe an hour at the latest after you've presented. It will be available for a replay to all Summit attendees. After the Summit, we will share that video link file with you so that you can download your session, share it as you wish. But generally speaking, folks will be able to see your session right away if they weren't able to join live. For you as a presenter and as an attendee, that means that any sessions that are going on during your workshop track, when you obviously cannot attend anything else, will also be recorded. And so you will be able to go back and look at those sessions. So if you see the schedule and you're, kind of sad that you are scheduled during a workshop that you also wanted to attend, you will be able to view that content pretty much the same day. The other thing that I'll flag for you here is that in addition to being spread over 3 days, this year's workshops are limited to 60 minutes. Last year, we had 90-minute session blocks. but a year plus into the pandemic, into virtual work now, we really want to be mindful of things like video conferencing fatigue, right? Really want to ensure that with the breadth of content that is available over those 3 days, the folks don't burn out, including you. So what we're doing is we're asking that you keep your presentation to 60 minutes. That was the case when you submitted your proposal. And for those of you who are thinking, I really had 90 minutes worth of content, we can talk a little bit about some strategies to pre-share some of that material. You're welcome to pre-record particular aspect of it if you need, or to share video links or files that you want folks to check out ahead of time. So you're really prioritizing discussion during those 60 minutes. Final thing I'll say on this slide, as you see here, the schedule is going to be released this week. I believe that Rebecca and I are in a good position to share that draft with those of you who are on the call and who registered for this call today. So I'm going to send you, when I send you the sort of post-session follow-up, which is going to be later today, with this video file. I'm also going to share the deck, some links that I'm referencing throughout the session. I will also share that sort of informal schedule with you all. I ask that you do not share that externally with your whole company. My colleagues in our communications team are going to clean this up and share it on our website. So it's not a secret. It will be shared quickly, but I don't want to make you wait for that. So I'm just going to send you the Airtable so you can see your session, the time for which you're scheduled, and you can flag any issues ahead of time before we kind of announce it publicly. Okay, I'm going to pause here because I see that the questions have climbed up to 9. I'm going to skip through some of them. I'm not ignoring. I'm just going to come back to those. Yes, this session is being recorded. We will come back to tips. We will come back to sessions. 7 to 8 workshops means that there's going to be 7 or 8 different sessions happening during your session. So 6 or 7 other workshops are going to be happening at the same time that you are presenting. You are only going to be asked to present one time. That is recorded and is made available on demand to all the participants after the conference, but you only have to present the one time. So yes, some sessions are going to be pre-recorded and do not necessarily have that Q&A segment, and we're going to get to that in just one second. Okay. So let's break down the session types, and I want to know what is your session type. So are you presenting a Summit on Demand? Did you receive an acceptance for a Summit on Demand pre-recorded session? Are you hosting a roundtable or other live video meeting? Are you hosting a webinar, which is something like what we're in right now, where really the speakers are the ones who can sort of speak and control the screen, but attendees are sort of placed in a separate category? Or do you not know? And not shaming those of you who are saying, I don't know, but I definitely do want to encourage you to go back to your proposal on Proposal Space, where you did pick which option you had. We had descriptions about meetings versus webinars versus video on demand. So asking that you go back and check, but it looks like the vast majority of you, well, not vast, but the majority of you are going to be in live webinars, much like this one. I'm going to start with the 18% of you or so of you that are on Summit on Demand, and then we'll move into those live sessions and what that will look like. Thank you again for submitting your responses here. Okay, let's talk about Summit on Demand workshops. These are going to be the pre-recorded sessions. This is what it looked like last year. I don't have any screenshots from this year's Summit page because it's a surprise. I'll show you that later. But sharing with you what it looked like for 2020, as you can see on the schedule, let me move my mouse so I can kind of hover with you. There's a toolbar at the top, and you'll see a Summit on Demand feature. That Summit on Demand tab is listed based on the workshop track, the area of focus. I will pause here and say, for those of you who presented Summit on Demand sessions with us last year, first of all, thank you very much for sharing your content and your best practices with us. And I want to recognize that we had a little bit of a hiccup learning, a little bit of a learning experience with the 2020 Summit last year. And that is, we released the on-demand content at the same time as the live sessions were occurring. In other words, folks got access to everything all at once, right after the opening plenary. And we heard some feedback, both from you presenters as well as from you attendees, right? That sort of limited folks' opportunity to engage with the Summit on Demand, that it sort of was competing with those live sessions and maybe did not get as many views for some of those sessions as our speakers had expected. So this year, we are definitely taking that feedback into consideration, and I'm really excited about what we're going to do. I think this will work out quite well for everyone. We are going to release access to the Summit platform early, as we did last year, about a week early. So that's going to be Tuesday, September 28th. I'm not looking at a calendar right now, but the week before. All attendees will get access to the platform on that day. They can start filling out their profiles, start adding sessions to their agendas, but nothing will be live, right? No live workshops will be available until the next week. So by releasing the Summit on Demand sessions on that day, a week early, we are going to have an audience, right, of thousands of Summit attendees on the platform with just the Summit on Demand content available to them. So I'm very excited about that sort of driving engagement. As speakers, whether you are a Summit on Demand speaker or a live meeting or webinar speaker, you will receive access to the platform even earlier than that. I need to double check right now but I believe it is Friday, September 24th or Thursday, September 23rd, that we will provide you with access to the platform as speakers so that you can go in, make sure that your sessions look good, that the information is correct, build out your session profile, and then when everybody else gets access to it, they'll be able to add your sessions. Again, I want to say that it is Friday, September 24th, but we might be doing that the Thursday, the 23rd instead, just to give you some additional access. Basically, you are going to have 3 or 4 days before all of the attendees to go in there and make sure that everything looks good for the public. At that time, on the 28th, when everybody gets access and you've already built out your sessions and looked at your pages, those Summit on Demand presentations will look somewhat like this. Now, keep in mind, this is a test page. Things might move to the bottom, to the right, et cetera, but the content would be the same. We would have your workshop title, the video streaming, obviously your abstract, the list of any speakers that are presenting at this session, and a discussion board. So for the Summit on Demand content, we do not have live scheduled Q&A options. What we do have are these discussion boards where folks can ask you questions, connect with each other, you can ask them questions, and like a discussion board, they are threaded. So you can kind of keep the conversations clear. I encourage you, if you are able to and have this access, to go on there and say, hey, I'm glad, Christine, you like that. So for example, Christine, if you have a pre-recorded session, you could go in there and say, hi, everybody, hope you enjoy the session. I'm going to be checking in every day, at 3:00 p.m. Or I can't come back to this session until Tuesday, October 5th at 5 p.m. and I'll be on for 30 minutes if anybody wants to have a live discussion. So really flexible for you. If you are kind of just dropping this and not really engaging in questions, that is your prerogative, although I would encourage you to then at least share an email address or something if folks want to follow up with you. But if you have availability and you can say ahead of time, I'm checking this every 3 days, I'm going to be available Friday, for 20 minutes if anybody wants to be on the discussion board with me, welcome to do that. Very much encourage you to do that. Basically, this is what the pages will look like. And like I said, folks will have a week with this as the exclusive content that they have access to. So I'm very excited for folks to review your best practices. Now, for those of you with pre-recorded content, you can share that content with us in one of 2 ways. The first is to record your content and upload it to a platform like YouTube or Vimeo or Facebook or the other ones that I'm not familiar with. And that would just be sending us a link, a direct link to that video, which we can plug into the Pathable platform. Alternately, you can share the raw file, whether that's an MP4, an .mov, or again, some of these other others that I'm not familiar with, I'm familiar with the first two, you can share the raw file with us and we'll upload it directly into the platform. If you're choosing that option of the raw file, you can't email it, right? These files are huge, in which case you would need to use something like Dropbox or Teams or some other software we transfer to make it available to us, whatever is available, you know, whatever platform you use. SharePoint works well, etc. So that's really how you're going to share the video with us. When it comes to recording the video, we really defer that to you. Some of you are going to record a Zoom webinar like this, or you may record in WebEx or Teams or GoToMeeting. Wherever you record is fine. There are just two things that I ask. One is that you use our title slide. I'm going to make that available to you after this call. It's basically the deck I'm using now, this pink deck with the outline. We're going to ask that you use the same title so we have consistency in the screenshots, but you do not need to use this deck. If you have a deck that you prefer more, I know that there's different legal permissions and things like that internally, please use your own decks. It's boring to spend 3 days looking at the same deck. So use your own. We just want you to use that title slide. And if for some reason you don't have a deck, it's a panel conversation, it's a 15-minute talk, that's okay. You don't need to create a deck. You just need to screen share for a second or two so that that title slide appears, and then you can cut to, you know, your video conversation. So pretty straightforward. Record in whatever platform you want. It can be as simple as recording a Zoom or other video conference like this one, or you might be working with your internal AV teams to produce complex videos requiring editing in lower thirds. And you know, if you want to do that, we will absolutely love that and encourage that, but do not expect that of you. So I do not want anybody who has a Summit on Demand session to feel anxious that you know, have to record it like a produced, session. It can just be an informal video recording. I will flag that I encourage you to use something like Zoom for that, because it will enable you to share the transcript. So for example, apologies, I had not turned on the transcript. I thought it was automatically turned on. So that is an issue here. But you are able to turn on the automatic transcript for your recording with Zoom. Now, this is through, I think, Otter AI. So it's not a perfect system, but please record using at least generated transcripts if you are not able to embed your own closed captioning or other transcription service. We are not able to edit those video files that you share with us. So whatever you share with us is what is available to attendees. So please consider incorporating the transcript directly into that recording. Let's see other things for the recording. So by way of checklist, for those of you presenting Summit on Demand sessions, please make sure that we have your updated title, abstract, speaker information. When you record, make sure to use that Summit title slide, which again, we will make available to you. Record your session and share that link with us by September 24th. So apologies for those of you who thought that we needed the sessions by today. Gosh, no. You have until the 24th. Of course, if you've already recorded, we will absolutely take that. And if you recorded, you don't have the Summit title slide, we can figure something out. Do not re-record. You do not need to do that. If you've already recorded, please follow up with us after the call. You will be able to create your speaker profiles on the 24th. So basically the 24th is a very important day. That's the last day. Please, if you have it ahead of time, do not wait until that day. That is the last day for you to share that video file with us. It will be the first day that you can start creating your speaker profiles. It will also be the first day that you can start going on your Summit on Demand page to make sure that your content looks correct. If we just received your file on the 24th, your page will not be built then, so you'll be able to come back the following week and check it out. But that's why we really encourage you, as soon as that video is available, please send it our way. Do not wait until the 24th. Send everything to us via learning@outandequal.org. Both Rebecca and I have access to that page. And so we will be really following up and compiling all Summit materials there. So please send directly to learning. Once you have all of that, your video is uploaded, your speaker profile is posted, you've gone online and you've looked at your page and everything looks good, go ahead and chat into the discussion board. Introduce yourself, share your contact information if you wish, encourage questions, share and on the discussion board throughout the conference as well. Okay, so that is our recording. I'm seeing that we're at minute 25, so I want to move to the platform and then talk to you a little bit about the different session types. So let's jump right in. I'm going to turn the microphone over to the Pathable team directly to share with you what the conference looks like. So let me full screen here. And Rebecca, I will look to a chat if the audio does not work.
Hello and welcome. The first thing you will receive is an electronic invitation to your virtual event. The invitation will look similar to this, but branded for your specific event. At the center, there is an important button which contains your unique authorization link. When you click the button, you will be directed to claim your account on your virtual event site. Notice that some of your information will automatically populate, and you may find additional fields provided by your event host. You will need to create a password. It only needs to be 6 characters, and after you have claimed your account, you will log into your virtual event site with the email address and password used here. Once you agree to the terms and conditions, you have 2 options. You can click Continue to App to proceed to the homepage of your virtual event, or click Complete Profile, which will take you to a page to edit your personal profile. You can upload a headshot and edit your details to create your unique profile. The more information you provide, the more you will pique your audience's interest. Your public profile will showcase your expertise and allow attendees to get to know you. If at any time you'd like to edit these details, hover over your name in the desktop header and then select Edit My Profile. Your audience is excited to get to know you. When they click on your headshot, it will link to your public profile. Your profile will display the information you added and your sessions. Attendees may be able to connect with you by sending direct messages or scheduling a private meeting. The customizable navigation bar is the key to getting the most from your virtual event. To easily view any session you are speaking at or planning to attend, click on the My Agenda tab under the Agenda menu. All your sessions will automatically populate here for quick access. To prepare for your session, click on the agenda card to open the Agenda Details page. Here, you can review your session description, check your digital collateral, and engage with your audience. In the Public Chat tab, attendees can converse before, during, and after your session. The countdown timer will be replaced with a Join Meeting button 20 minutes before your session start time, giving you early access to your session's Zoom room. These 20 minutes act as a green room where you and your support staff can test your audio, video, and screen sharing before any attendees can enter. At the start of your session, the audience will join you. To start your session, it only takes 3 steps. Step 1, click My Agenda from the navigation bar. Step 2, click on the agenda card of the session you would like to begin. Step 3, click the Join Meeting button. Remember, you will have access to your green room 20 minutes before the start time of the session. Thanks for watching. We look forward to seeing you at a Pathable powered event.
Okay, so I realize that is a lot of information. And so I'm going to unpack some of that information and of course, make that video available to you all as well. Let's start with the speaker profiles first. This is what you'll get that access to on the 24th, by the 24th, where you'll be able to add your photo, bio, links, ribbons, all that good stuff. As you saw in the video, your sessions where you are speaking are automatically added to your agenda, and you'll have that opportunity to connect with other people. A very important point that I will flag here. Please make sure that you register or have registered for Summit using the same email address that you use to register to submit your proposal. For those of you who have submitted your proposal using work emails but are registering under personal emails due to Zoom workarounds, please let us know immediately, because that is going to cause some issues. It's going to read you as two different people in the system. So please make sure that your registration and your speaker submission have the same email address. And if they don't, let us know ahead of time. That will ensure that your sessions are automatically, your speaking sessions are automatically added to your profile and to your agenda. And just to share a screenshot from last year of my session, you can see you get to add ribbons, you can add your Twitter, your LinkedIn profiles, add information about your industry and various interests, and it links directly to your session. Each presenter, when you have multiple presenters, will get the same links, will be able to have their session. So for example, if I clicked on Stacy or Sharita's profiles, this is a screenshot, so I can't, their profiles would have their information and the sessions where they are speaking. So each presenter will be able to load their personal information. But as session managers, please ensure that all your speakers recognize that they must have matching email addresses, and let us know again if they don't. On the session page information, as you saw in that video, your actual session page where your workshop is happening can be accessed through that speaker profile or under that My Agenda tab. And each session page will have the option for chats, for polling, and for file sharing. So you will be able to start sharing, uploading files and creating polls yourself when you get that access on Friday, September 24th. For Summit On Demand sessions, those are going to look differently. As I showed you earlier, those are going to feature discussion boards, and you will not be able to chat or create polls directly there. So that is an important thing I want to flag. You will be able to upload your own materials. You can share the deck ahead of time. You can upload handouts. You can share video files. You can create your own polls. All of that information will be available to you. You also heard in the video that you'll be able to access your session 20 minutes early. Everybody else is sort of hanging out and waiting, but you as speakers will be able to join early. This will also give you the option of adding some session producers or support staff. In the so-called green room, which is really the 20 minutes when you can join the session early, we will have an out and equal staff member there to support you, to check your audio levels with you, to answer any questions you may have at that moment, to share any announcements or information that we need to share with you in that particular moment. But out and equal staff will not be able to support you once the session starts. We are not able to screen share for you, handle breakouts or anything like that. That is really based on you as workshop speakers and leaders. However, as you can see, it's really hard to be speaking and trying to look at the Q&A and move slides, etc. So you may have a colleague, as I do here, joining you as a session producer. That option is available. The caveat is your session producer must be someone who is registered for the conference already. We are not able to add people into the platform who are not registered for the conference. Here's a screenshot of a premiere session from last year. All sessions, once they've happened, are going to have the replay, which is why you can see that watch again button here. But what I wanted to show you on the side are the options for polls, the options to add files, the option to see people who has registered and attended the session. This screenshot does not have the chat because it's from last year and we'd already disabled the chats for privacy reasons, but you would also see your chat here. Over here is where you would also see at that 20-minute button the option to enter your session early. And that sponsored by tab reflects the logos of any partner organizations who are speaking in that session. So again, for those of you who are adding a presenter, that presenter will have the same permissions as speakers, meaning they too will be, that producer will be able to join 20 minutes early, but they will not appear listed here as a speaker. So really, this is intended for you, if you have a Zoom savvy person on staff who's joining the conference, who's going to be at Summit anyway, you can sort of tap them to provide you with that support during your session. Okay, I want to move to live sessions before we get to our Q&A. Quick question here for folks while I actually take a second and look at some of the questions that have come in. What is your comfort level with Zoom? Okay, and as folks respond to that, I'm just looking at these questions. You go about sharing your handout by uploading it directly into that platform. We'll talk about breakouts in a second, so I'm just going to skip that. There is that Q&A function for live presentations. We'll talk about that in a second. Zoom is the only platform for presenting. You do not need any assets to build out the page. In other words, we are creating the pages, but we need your updated speakers, title information, abstracts, etc. So that's the information we need, but you do not need to build out the page. What you are welcome to do and invited to do once that page is built and you have access is to add any supplemental materials like files, handouts, video links, etc. All of your workshop presenters must be registered as Summit attendees, and that information was in the acceptance email as well. Go ahead and mark that as answered. As presenters, your jobs will include starting and stopping recordings, and we'll talk about that in a second. So let me look at what we're dealing with here. About 42% of you, oh, excellent. 84% of you are saying that you are comfortable leading Zoom meetings and webinars or video meetings. It's a little typo in there. I'm comfortable leading webinars. About 3% of you are in practice, and it looks like everybody here has used Zoom, and that is true because we are on Zoom right now. So that is great news. As you saw with the questions coming in, the platform that we are using, Pathable, is Zoom-based. So as a participant, you will not have any issues with watching sessions that are in that platform, but as speakers, you must have Zoom downloaded into your computer that you are using, and you must be able to access it. So for those of you who work in organizations that have a lot of firewalls that don't allow you to use Zoom, you will need to use a personal computer in order to access this. That is what a lot of our speakers did last year. Now, with the live sessions, there are two different types of sessions, meetings and webinars. This is what I asked at the beginning of our conversation today. You noted which of the two you requested in your session, and we may not be able to accommodate any changes at this point. This is due to licensing agreements that we have with our partners, and we requested our licenses based on what was submitted in those proposals. So if you strongly want to change from a meeting to a webinar or vice versa, please send us an email. But I just want to let you know that we may not be able to accommodate that change. That's why during the proposal, we really broke down what each session type did and what it was intended for. All right, so for sessions that are webinars, they're going to look like this. Only the presenter appears on camera, can speak, can share screen. These sessions are going to be embedded into Pathable for your participants. So your participants will not see the chat function that we have here and the Q&A function and the polls function that we have in the Zoom that I'm hosting right now. For example, Rebecca and others have been chatting in right during the conversation today. That is not going to be possible during during Summit, because we have the Pathable platform where your video will appear embedded as it did in the screen share from earlier, and folks will be able to chat directly here. So that's intended to be easier for the viewer so that they are viewing your content and chatting about your content on the same page rather than navigating multiple windows. For you as the presenter, though, it's basically the same experience, whether you're presenting in a meeting or a webinar. You are going to be popped out into the Zoom client regardless. But webinars are intended to be presentation based. You're taking some questions at the end, but we're not doing roundtables. We're not doing breakouts. It's hierarchical. Meetings, on the other hand, everybody's on the same platform, right? There's no kind of difference between a panelist and an attendee. Everybody can speak, appear on camera, share screens. It can get messy, right? We've all joined a session where everybody's talking at once, or somebody's unmuted and a dog is barking in the corner. So that is one of the downsides of having a meeting versus a webinar. However, meetings, so for those of you who requested roundtables, those by definition are in meetings, right? You need to be able to put people into breakout rooms, talk to each other, see each other's faces, etc. So those are the main differences. For both platforms, as I said, the chat, Q&A, and polls functions are disabled in favor of Pathable's versions. You're also welcome to use a third party like I'm doing here with Mentimeter, because the polls in either Zoom or Pathable are pretty straightforward, right? They're yes or no questions. But with Mentimeter, I can do word clouds and multiple choice and, pin the image, all kinds of different figures. So for me, I like using this more, but it is not a request. And if you are not familiar with and comfortable with using additional software, I would not try to sort of learn it all for this session. Go with your comfort level. If you're an experienced presenter and you already have a lot of platforms and systems you're using, bring those back in. But please do not feel like you need to sort of learn, Zoom magic in order to make your session happen. As I mentioned, you will be able to add session producers for webinars or for videos, but it's really mostly for webinars, since there is the difference between panelist and attendee. Not a prerequisite, but recommended. You don't need to add an additional person if you have multiple presenters. You could just say, when Rebecca's talking, I'm doing this, the screen share and vice versa. You don't need to tell us. We don't need to give anybody any presenter, credit, because they're all speakers in the session. You just need to inform us if you want to add a Summit attendee as a producer. That's what we need to know ahead of time. That person, you want to pick someone who's already comfortable with using Zoom, is familiar with Zoom, knows how to run Zoom meetings, is not, this is not a learning curve for them. Otherwise, that doesn't really make sense as a producer. That producer can review your session poll for any questions that you want to add, can follow along and engage the conversation on chat. And as I mentioned, will not appear as a Summit speaker. Ignore my slide here that says provide their email via learning. We do not want a flurry of emails, so I'm going to share a Airtable form. That's what I'm going to share with you after, so you can submit those names. So for your live sessions, whether it's a webinar or video meeting, pretty much your checklist is the same. You want to make sure that your Summit speakers are registered by this Friday. If they are not registered by this Friday, please let us know if you have any hiccups. But again, that registration information was shared with you back in July or August. So please make sure that you are registered. If you are with a partner organization, you may use the Summit presenter registration code, or you may follow up with a separate code that is being used by your company. That is up to you, but just make sure that you are registered. Make sure that we have your updated information. Get familiar with Zoom if you're not already. Add the Summit title slide to your presentation deck, but feel free to use the deck that you wish. You're also welcome to use this deck if you'd like, but you don't have to. If you want to add that session producer, send that name and email address to us via the Airtable form. Links will be provided to you in an email after this recording. Make sure your Pathable speaker profiles look good, your session page looks correct, add any files and poll questions. And the next thing that I want to flag is the option for a dress rehearsal. Last year, we had a number of dress rehearsals, which the platform allows, and we are happy to provide those to you again. Same thing via an Airtable form. So you'll have a form to fill out so that we can just make this process a bit smoother on our end and ensure that we get to you in a timely fashion. Please note that for the dress rehearsals, those are intended for you to be familiar with the platform, to check your audio visual experiences. So we will not be able to staff your green room, your dress rehearsals. We will be in the green room for your live session to provide some support in that pre-session moment, but you will be responsible for managing your content once the session goes live, and you will have your own access to the dress rehearsal without our information. I see, for example, if you received an acceptance that did not include that presenter registration information, please email learning right away so we can get that code to you. And of course, not going to penalize you for not registering by the 10th. We'll give you a few more days, but please follow up with us. And again, apologies. I do want to flag for folks here. This is a small team at Out and Equal, and from the learning and development side, just Rebecca and I are working on this while my colleagues work on other issues. So we have a lot of email exchanges, a lot of deadlines, and a lot of back and forth. So deeply apologize if we missed a response to one of your emails. Please send it back. We will get back to you. Again, so those are your checklists for before the conference. By the day of the conference, you will be able to join 20 minutes early. And you will be, staff members will be there checking this as well, but I want you to also have this information, and that is making sure that the session gets recorded. For webinars, you're in luck. You pretty much just need to hit broadcast when the webinar starts to go live, and then the session will be live. You must ensure that you hit that recording before you start talking, otherwise it'll go in the middle. For those of you who have meetings, you will need to hit save to the cloud before you start talking. Again, we will have an Out and Equal staff member there to remind you of this and to support making sure that recording is available, but I want you to have this information. I will also share these screenshots and more details about the green room a little bit closer to the session. Don't want to sort of throw too much information at you now, but just to give you an image of what that looks like. When you're not recording, it doesn't say anything yet. Once you start recording in a meeting, you'll see that it says pause or stop recording, and that you'll see that option that the recording is hosting. Same thing when you are in a webinar. Practice mode, not recording, you can see pause and stop recording, and the recording button sort of highlighted for you. So it's pretty obvious when you're in record mode and when you're not. But again, I'll make those screenshots available to you. Okay, so to recap, most important date for us now is going to be September 24th. We cannot accept changes to your title or abstract or speakers after that date. So please make sure any changes are submitted by then. Those of you who have live sessions, be they meetings or webinars, can add that non-speaker producer. So share that information with us by the 24th. And of course, make sure that your videos, for those of you who are submitting content on demand, are also submitted by the 24th. A couple of tips: play around with Zoom, avoid the witness protection effect. And let me see if I don't think it's going to work right now, but this is kind of what I mean when things are a lot darker versus when things are brighter. Make sure that if you have a bright light behind you or a window, that you're sort of balancing that with another bright light so you're not sort of faded out in the presentation. Share your screen judiciously. I'm a big fan of sharing applications and not desktop, because you don't need to look at my desktop. That's private, right? So things like that. If you're sharing video clips, making sure that you're sharing computer sound, and really just want to encourage you to take advantage of those 20 minutes. Those of us who've been on Zoom all day, every day for, over a year now are like, I'm used to it, but you never know. Something is going to happen with the audio. The platform is a little bit different. So really try to get there at the 20-minute mark. And please don't join, 2 minutes early because it may be too late at that time. A couple of other do's and don'ts that I want to focus on. The first is do focus your presentation on sharing best practices and experiences. Overwhelmingly, our summit feedback is very positive. Folks are really happy with the sessions. But when session feedback is critical, it usually is because the presentation was a bit more of a marketing session for your company as a potential employee, marketing session for your company's services, marketing session for your consulting services, whatever it might be. So I really just want to encourage you. You have 60 minutes. Folks are, this is not a career fair type of conference. This is sharing best practices. So please be mindful of how much time you spend on that kind of marketing of yourselves and of the introduction of your company and backgrounds, et cetera. Those sessions that have the best feedback are those that get right to the heart of it, are really focused on sharing with the speakers some clear takeaways, not just kind of promoting themselves. So that's an important thing I'll flag here. I also encourage you to consider the abstract a contract. What I mean by that is when you're looking as an attendee, when you're looking through the conference schedule, there are a lot of workshops, right, that are competing for your interest. So when I'm reading the title and the abstract, I'm picking my time based on that. Consider that a contract that I'm entering with you. Other sessions that have gotten critical feedback in the past have amazing abstracts. And then when folks go to the session, they're like, this session was supposed to be about, I don't know, self-ID. It ended up being about, Pride Month programming. That's a great topic, but that's not what those people in the room may have expected. So if your session is changing, that's okay. I've been in this situation, and what you proposed a few months ago looks very different now. That's why we encourage you to submit those changes to us by the 24th. If your session has changed, if you go back and are looking at your abstract now and you're like, I want to pull out some of the things that I said in the expanded and put it in that brief, we're happy to accommodate that, because I want folks to see your abstract and go to your session knowing that that's what they are going to get out of it. Please don't present something wildly different than what you proposed. Finally, engage your audience. Try not to talk the whole time, as I've been doing now. Of course, as with now, there's a lot of content that I've just got to get out to you, right? So at the very least, trying to figure out other forms of engaging people via chats, via polls, via surveys, etc. And when I share this file, you'll get these are hyperlinks, so you'll be able to see all the details. Pathable has a lot of content on their page, walking you through the system, walking you through Zoom, providing you with best practices, details about what you need to have downloaded on your computer, presentation tips, all that good stuff. So I'm going to share those links with you directly. So we have about 8 minutes left. I can stay on a few minutes, but I want to make sure that everybody that needs to go can go. So let's go to our questions. Can we do breakout rooms in Zoom? Absolutely, you can do breakout rooms if your session is a meeting. If your session is a webinar, you are not able to do breakout rooms. If you have a webinar and you need breakout rooms, please email me like by tomorrow so that we can try to accommodate you. We are not able to accommodate, as I said earlier, due to licensing, but I'm going to try my best. If you need breakout rooms, you must have a meeting, not a webinar. And we talked about the recording. Out and Equal will be there to manage, but I do want the recording I want you to have that information as well. How can we identify whether we chose meeting or webinar? Our submission only says presentation. I keep scrolling because I have my computer blocking a little bit here. Go back to proposal space and look at your submission. We asked you your type, so you could have said presentation, roundtable, panel, and then we asked you what type for the platform, meeting or video webinar, and we had descriptions of what each one did. So you need to go back to proposal space to see that information. Title slide will be made available to you after this call. I should be marking these as answered. Breakouts cannot happen in webinars, only meetings. You will find out how many people have signed up for your session up to the live moment. Folks are going to be able to start adding things to their agenda a week early when everybody gets access. So that's, I believe, on the 28th. So you'll be able to start seeing folks there. You'll be able to see them up to the live session. It'll say, 500 out of 500 have registered, that kind of thing. If you have a 60-minute webinar and you do not need a producer, that is perfectly fine. But if you are speaking alone for 60 minutes, I would encourage you to consider adding somebody from your organization who's already joining Summit to support you. Someone from Out and Equal will not be able to introduce the speakers. This is similar to what we do in the in-person room. So we're really turning the room over to you to introduce yourselves, or you may identify that producer or one other person from your group to speak to you. Yes, you can assume that people have read the bio and program description, but I still think it's nice to do a quick introduction, sharing of pronouns, that good stuff. Can you do a drawing? I certainly, I think that is perfectly fine if you do a drawing and folks like, free stuff. It just, I'm not sure exactly how you did it last year, whatever platform or third-party software you might have had to use, but certainly you're welcome to do so. Pre-recorded sessions, we can come back to a little bit more. Well, we prefer both. There is a value in both. So those of you who have live acceptances, if you need to submit that as a pre-record instead, please do let us know. Sessions will be available for a length of time. Annalicia, if you can chat into Rebecca, because I can't see the details, I don't want to make up the date. So I'm going to ask my events colleague who's on the line to chat with my colleague Rebecca and put it, or Annalicia, actually, you can chat it directly via Zoom. I believe it is through 2 weeks after Summit, but yes, all sessions will be available basically an hour after they happen live. The videos should populate, and you'll have access to all of those videos for some time after the conference, after those 3 days. And your individual session, as I said, we can make available to you so that you can share however you wish. That's your content, so I can't hold it from you. Presenters need to register by the end of this week unless you've let us know that there's a particular challenge and you need more time. There's a preferred file format. Yes, those are what we shared earlier, MP4 or .mov. And yes, you are limited to 5 speakers. The reason for that being, in a 60-second session, a 60-minute session, 5 speakers is already plenty. So if you, again, October 29th is the last day. Thank you, Annalicia. If you need more than 5 speakers, we can talk, but I'm gonna flag that, as I don't know how much speaking each person is doing in just 1 hour. Early access will be available to all presenters because we want all individual speakers to go in there and upload their profiles. So those of you who are managers, the primary contact, I'm asking you to go to the session page, make sure that looks correct, and to follow up with your speakers, make sure that they've opened these emails, gone online, but they will have their own links, their own access, their own entry into Pathable. Whiteboards, there may be the feature to whiteboard on Zoom, but I'll need to double check with you. And again, really, I don't like to use it. I don't have worked well with it in the past, but I know a lot of other folks are familiar and successful. If you're going to do whiteboards, you're definitely going to need a presenter, a producer to support your presenters, given the permissions and erasing and things like that. But whiteboards should be available if you need them. On-demand options, on-demand workshops, I believe, do not have an option for file sharing. However, if you wanted to share a file for an on-demand session, please email us at learning, and we will figure out how to upload that. I will flag here, as one of the questions coming in chat, that short content is prepared. A number of you have video on demand sessions that are 15 or 20 minutes long. That's still the case. Your content is as long as you need it. We just don't want it to be longer than an hour. You do not need to stretch a 15-minute proposal into a 60-minute presentation, though. If all the individuals from my company are presenting during our session, can we provide access to a producer? If everybody who is attending from your session, from your conference is already a speaker, then there wouldn't be an additional person for you to add as a producer, but you'll probably need to identify how folks are acting as producers within your session. If the presentation is pre-recorded, do all panelists have to be registered as well? No, all panelists do not need to be registered, but you do need to be registered to attend the conference. So if you have pre-recorded presenters who appear just on the video, they will not have access to the conference or to their profiles, unfortunately. Can we do live meetings in Teams, but send to you for accommodation to Zoom? So let me back it up. To be clear, all live sessions happening during Summit are happening on our conference platform, Pathable, which runs via Zoom. So your live meetings must happen via Zoom. For those of you who have pre-recorded content, you can record that content on Teams and then share the raw video file with me, right? The MP4 with me, but you must be able to host live sessions on Zoom. Will we be able to see our slides live? Yep, it's going to pop out into a regular Zoom session. So for you as a speaker, it's going to look different than for the participants who are going to be, embedded in the platform. For you as a speaker, it's going to look for all intents and purposes, like a regular old Zoom webinar or meeting. So yep, you'll be able to see your screen and everything as usual. Presenters are definitely required to have video capabilities. We really do not want a lot of this, which is just a disembodied voice speaking to you. So we definitely want, I'm turning my video back on, we definitely want presenters to have video capabilities and to log in using a computer. Last year, we had a couple of speakers who joined via cell phones or iPads, and that does not work. The speed is not as good. The app itself for Zoom is a lot different on iOS, on mobile devices than on desktop devices. And so please have video capability via a desktop, if at all possible. Recognize that if not, your session may suffer technologically. When do we find out? So you'll find out as you see folks joining. There's no one from my organization to produce. If that is the case, please do let us know if you have a colleague, perhaps from another organization that is joining. We may be able to accommodate from the staffing side, but just please recognize that we have very limited staff and a lot of sessions over 3 days. So we do want to really defer to you to manage your sessions where possible. You asked for 45 minutes, you can keep it to 45 minutes. You're just going to be in a 60-minute block. So you can end early, that's absolutely fine. And you can say ahead of time, this is 45 minutes, right? We're not staying on for an extra 60, but you're in the same block as everybody else. So yes, some sessions are going to be 30, others are going to be 45. That is perfectly okay. Short content was prepared. Minimum time limit, as with last year, I believe was 10 or 15 minutes. Please, a 5-minute video I think is going to be too short, and a 2-hour session is going to be too long. So keep it to that hour max. For pre-recorded sessions, yes, not all registers have to present. Not all presenters have to register, but for live sessions, all presenters must register for live sessions. Phew. Aside from the green room, is there a way to do the prep? Yes, that is the dress rehearsal option, which you'll be able to request via Airtable form that we will circulate after the conversation. And schedule is coming later today, I promise. Title slide is also going to come. And as we mentioned earlier, presentation is going to be available online. So we are 3 minutes past the mark. I don't see any other questions coming in. Of course, please submit your questions via Learning. I've shared a lot of information like verbally with you that I'm going to follow up with later today. Thank you. I'm going to share that information with you later today with all those details, but also wanted to plug why I really like using Mentimeter over the regular Zoom. You all were able to upvote. So the questions that popped up at the top were the ones that had the most questions. So it just kind of helps go with the flow. So anyway, just a plug for Mentimeter, but you can use Slido, you can use different things. And of course, you can absolutely use the embedded chat, Q&A, and poll features via Zoom. So with that, I want to thank all of you. I'm sorry that we weren't able to see your faces, but for the purposes of today, a webinar made the most sense. Love seeing your names. Please know that if we owe you an email, please email us back. We are doing our best to get back to all of you. And Rebecca and I, as along with the rest of the Out and Equal team, are really psyched for Summit and to see you and see your sessions. So again, thank you all so much. Enjoy the rest of your week and look out for a long email with a lot of hyperlinks from me later this afternoon. Again, thank you and goodbye.